Hi, this is Richard Fields with this week's Report from the Fields. Spirit Airlines was the no frills airline that baited people with low cost tickets and then charged exorbitant amounts if you wanted to actually take luggage with you. $89 at the gate, or actually $99 at the gate for both check bags and carry on bags. They recently declared bankruptcy. Good. The airplanes they flew are still flyable. Another airline will probably buy the planes out of bankruptcy and figure out how to make money flying them. Even more importantly, declaring bankruptcy will effectively prevent a $500 million federal bailout of this sorry air carrier. Yes, the Trump administration was seriously considering adding Spirit to its portfolio of investments in investor-owned companies. You know, companies like Intel, MP Materials, Lithium Americas, Trilogy Metals, U.S. Steel, USA Rare Earth, Westinghouse, Vulcan Elements, xLight, L3 Harris Technologies, and according to some reports, the largest company in the world, Invidia. Luckily, the bondholders of Spirit nixed the deal, and Spirit would just have been the foot in the door for bailouts of other similar budget airlines, Allegiant Air, Avalo Airlines, Frontier Airlines, and Sun Country Airlines. They had their hands out for $2.5 billion in taxpayer investment money. For the time being, this incipient nationalization of the country's airlines has been nipped in the bud. Ironically, a large part of the reason all these companies went begging to the feds for support was the unforeseen, maybe, results of previous government policy. The Trump tariffs, and particularly China, led China to retaliate by limiting exports of rare earth elements, essential elements for manufacturing modern weapons and aircraft, not to mention your mobile phone. So the U.S. had to grow a rare earth industry from essentially nothing. In the case of the airlines, the Fed caused problem is the rapidly rising cost of jet fuel caused by the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz, caused, of course, by Trump's egregiously unconstitutional war on Iran. It's really remarkable how ignorance of history leads politicians to follow the same stupid policies over and over again. The post-World War II Labour government in Great Britain decided that it would be a great idea to nationalize huge parts of the British economy. That's textbook socialism, ownership of the means of production by the people, which really means by the government. Never ends up well. In Britain, it took the radical capitalism of Margaret Thatcher to turn the country around. Now Britain is starting to make many of the same mistakes. Again, in Argentina, it took the radical libertarianism of Javier Milei to turn around decades of economic ruin under the socialist Peronistas. A turnaround from incipient socialism/fascism is urgently needed in America. It can't happen too soon, but it probably won't unless the plurality of Americans with broadly libertarian values start to vote for good candidates for public office rather than the lesser of two evils. Voting for evil is not a winning proposition. That's this week's Report from the Fields. I'm Richard Fields. See you again next week.